Hey there, Mantaray79 here, and I'm back with another deck profile video for the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game. In today's video, the deck profile I'm going to be doing one for is the standard formats: Dimension Police, Black-clad Deity, Bradblack with Dimensional Robo, Daizaurus, and Roaring Beast, Audion. Alrighty then, let's get started. First off, the starting unit. For the starting unit of this deck, we have Grade 0, Little Hero Draco Kit. Starting unit, Grade 0, Little Hero Draco Kit. Its skill is pretty much the same as any other skill for the starting units of the V standard format is, when written on top of, you can draw one card, and if you're the second to write to Grade 1, you can add a quick shield to your hand. Alrighty then, that about covers the deck's starting unit. Next, let's get on to the Grade 1 lineup. And now for the Grade 1 lineup. For the Grade 1s in this deck, we have 4 Eternity Chasers, 4 Cosmic Hero, Grand Ropes, and 2 Dimensional Robo, Dice Scoopers. The Grade 1 Eternity Chaser, its skills are: the first skill, when written on top of, you may discard one card from your hand. If you've paid the cost, you may reveal one Grade 3 normal unit from your hand to your opponent, and then search your deck for any other Grade 3 besides the one you revealed and add to your hand. So with this first skill, it makes Eternity Chaser a possible Grade 3 searcher as long as you manage to ride him as your Grade 1 Vanguard and then ride a Grade 2 on top of him. As long as you don't mind discarding one card in your hand and revealing one of the Grade 3s already in your hand, you may search your deck for another Grade 3 and add to your hand, giving you an option of 2 different Grade 3s to ride to when it's time to go to Grade 3. And the second skill of Eternity Chaser, as a rear guard in your back row, whenever your opponent's rear guard with 25,000 power or less attacks, you may Soul Blast 1 and retreat Eternity Chaser from your rear guard. If the cost has been paid, you may completely block the attack. So with this second skill, Eternity Chaser is more or less like a pseudo-perfect guard for opponent's rear guard attacks. As long as you've got this guy in your back row, during any opponent's rear guard attacks that have 25,000 power or less, as long as you don't mind to pay the cost of Soul Blast 1 and retreating this guy, you can more or less ultimately block it, making it a very powerful defensive card and a good support card to have if you wish to play a lot of Grade 3s in your deck. The Grade 1 Cosmic Hero, Grand Rope. His skills are: the first skill, as a rear guard, if you have a Grade 3 or higher unit on your field, he gets plus 5,000 power. So with this first skill, Grand Rope can serve as a more or less an absolute 13,000 point attacker for your front row, or a 13,000 power booster from the back row. And the best part is, his skill is more or less almost absolute, since it says you need to have a Grade 3 or higher unit on your field, so the plus 5,000 power is more or less guaranteed by the time you ride to Grade 3, making it a pretty powerful offensive card. And the second skill of Grand Rope, when written or called, you may check the top 5 cards of your deck for a Grade 3 and add to your hand. And if a card is added to your hand by this skill, you must discard one card from your hand as the cost. So for the second skill, it more or less makes Grand Rope a Grade 3 searcher for your deck. The Grade 1 Dimensional Robo, Dice Scooper. His skills are: when written on top of, you may check the top 7 cards of your deck for a Grade 3 and add to your hand. So just like Eternity Chaser and Grand Rope, this first skill makes the Dice Scooper a possible Grade 3 searcher, mainly when you ride him as your Grade 1 Vanguard and ride Grade 2 up on top of him. You can almost absolutely add a Grade 3 from your deck to your hand for almost no cost. And the second skill of Dice Scooper, when called under the rear guard circle, you may give one of your Grade 3 Vanguards plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So this second skill is also a good way to stack a little extra power to your Vanguard, to give it the extra power up to activate additional skills you need to use. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 1 lineup. Next, let's get on to the Grade 2 lineup. And now for the Grade 2 lineup. For the Grade 2s in this deck, we have 4 Endless Floats, 4 Platinum Ace, and 3 Quick Hero Active Mask. The Grade 2 Endless Float. Its skills are, the first skill, when written on top of, you may give one of your Vanguard plus 10,000 power, and an additional ability. By discarding one card from your hand, you may superior call Endless Float from your soul to the rear guard. So with this first skill, not only can you give your new Vanguard plus 10,000 power to give it more of an offensive advantage, but also as long as you don't mind discarding one card from your hand as the cost, you may superior call Endless Float from your soul to the rear guard, giving you a rear guard to attack with later. And the second skill of Endless Float, as a rear guard, whenever this unit attacks, if a Grade 3 was placed on your field during the turn this unit attacked, then your rear guard Endless Float gets plus 5,000 power, and a skill, after attacking, you may retreat Endless Float from your rear guard. If you've done so, you may draw a card. So the second skill, not only is it a good way to give your Endless Float a little extra power, making it at least a 15,000 point attacker for the front row, but as long as you don't mind retreating him from your rear guard after attacking, he'll also help you add more cards to your hand by letting you draw with its second skill. The Grade 2 Platinum Ace. Its skills are, the first skill, as a Vanguard, during your turn, it gets plus 5,000 power. So this first skill is more or less a Vanguard boosting skill, so as long as you manage to ride Platinum Ace as your Grade 2 Vanguard, he'll be a 15,000 point attacker all on his own. And the second skill of Platinum Ace, as a rear guard, once per turn, whenever this unit attacks, if your Vanguard is a Grade 3 with 30,000 or more attack power, you may Soul Blast 1. If the cost has been paid, you may give your rear guard Platinum Ace plus 10,000 power and plus 1 critical until the end of the turn. So with the second skill, it makes Platinum Ace a very powerful front row attacker for you as long as you manage to gather the 13,000 points of power to your Vanguard before he attacks. And as long as you don't mind to pay the Soul Blast of 1, he can serve as a very powerful and high pressure attacker as long as you like to rely on these kinds of cards. The Grade 2 Quick Hero Active Mask. His skill is, as a rear guard, once per turn, whenever your Vanguard with 30,000 power or more attacks, you may Counter Blast 1. If the cost has been paid, you may restand your rear guard Active Mask. So if the second skill is more or less kind of like Platinum Ace's skill, it's more or less like a Vanguard that specializes a rear guard that specializes in supporting a Vanguard that has huge amounts of power. As long as you manage to gather the 13,000 points of power and you don't mind paying a Counter Blast, he can restand. So if you've managed to give Active Mask additional extra power with other unit skills, he can serve as a very prominent front row attacker for your Dimension Police decks. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 2 lineup. Next, let's get on to the Grade 3 lineup. And now for the Grade 3 lineup. For the Grade 3s in this deck, we have 4 Black-clad top tier Deity, Bradblack, 4 Roaring Beast, Audion, and 4 Super Dimensional Robo, Daizaurus. The Grade 3 Black-clad top Deity, Bradblack, one of the main Grade 3s to ride in this deck. Its skills are, the first skill, as a Vanguard, by Counter Blasting 1, you may give 3 units in your front row plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn. So for this first skill, for a mere Counter Blast of 1, your entire front row gets plus 10,000 power, giving you more or less a available front row attack in a full formation or semi-formation. Like, as long as you manage to fill your front row, then you'll be able to attack at least 3 times. And the second skill of Bradblack, as a Vanguard, at the end of the battle this unit attacked, you may check the top 7 cards of your deck for a Grade 3 and add to your hand. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, if you've used this skill, you may pay the additional cost of discarding 2 cards in your hand. If the cost has been paid, you may superior write a grade 3 from your hand that is not Bradblack. Superior write it as stand and give that newly written unit plus 10,000 power, but also you have to pay an additional cost of minusing its drive by 1. So if the second skill of Bradblack, not only do you have the chance to add a new grade 3 to your hand, as long as you can discard the cards for the cost and to meet the condition of having a different grade 3 in your hand, you'll be able to superior write a new Vanguard and give that new Vanguard plus 10,000 power. Though you lose 1 drive, I think it's more or less worth it, making this a very powerful Vanguard to have in your front row, not only because its first skill lets you give your entire front row a higher attack power for full consecutive attacks, but also its own second skill giving you at least 2 Vanguard attacks by meeting the cost and conditions. The grade 3, the Roaring Beast Audion, one of the other grade 3s to ride in this deck. Its first skill, as a Vanguard, once returned, if you Soul Blast 1 grade 3, if the cost has been paid, you may move any number of your rear guards into your soul. If you've done so, then your Vanguard Audion gets plus 5,000 power and plus 1 critical for each of those rear guards moved into the soul by this unit's skill. So this first skill, by a special Soul Blasting a grade 3, and as long as you don't mind moving all of, or at least a huge number of your own rear guards into the soul, your Vanguard Audion will become a very powerful attacker in both power and criticals. The second skill of Audion, as a Vanguard, when this unit attacks, you may Soul Blast 3 cards if the cost has been paid until the end of the battle. Whenever your opponent wishes to guard your Vanguard Audion's attack from their hand, they must use 2 or more cards to guard with. So this second skill is more or less a guard restriction. By paying the Soul Blast of 3 costs, you cannot, then you can just restrict your opponent's defensive abilities by forcing them to guard with 2 or more cards in their hand, making it more difficult for them to defend against this Vanguard's attack. So of these 2 skills, its first skill, stacking power and criticals, and its second skill of performing a guard restriction, is a very powerful attacker as your Vanguard. The grade 3, Super Dimensional Robo, Daizaurus. Its skills are, the first skill, continuous, as your Vanguard. During your turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power for every card in your damage zone. So as a Vanguard, it's a pretty good skill since it gets plus 5,000 power for every card in the damage zone. So maximally, it can get at least 25,000 power for every card in total, since you can have 5 damage and 25,000 power at max. So the second skill of Daizaurus, as a rear guard, at the end of the battle this unit attacked, if your Vanguard's power is 35,000 power or greater, you may pay the cost of counterblasting 1 and moving this rear guard into your soul. If you've done so, your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power and plus 1 drive until the end of the turn. So for this unit's second skill, it mainly meant to be as a rear guard. After attacking, if you've already managed to secure your Vanguard's power at 35,000 power or more, and as long as you don't mind counterblasting 1 and moving this unit into your soul after attacking, your Vanguard will get a huge power boost and another drive check, making it easy to get triggers. So overall, Daizaurus makes a great Vanguard and rear guard with both its 2 different skills, making it a very effective card to have regardless of where you put it on the field. And with that, we just about covered the deck's grade 3 lineup. Next, let's get on to the trigger lineup. And now for the trigger lineup. For the triggers in this deck, we have 4 Justice Cobalts, critical triggers, 4 Dimensional Robo, Die Racers, critical triggers, 4 Diamond Aces, draw triggers, and 4 Ultimate Salvation Combination, Atom Bullion, heal triggers. The grade 0, draw trigger, Sentinel, perfect guard, Diamond Ace, like any other perfect guard for the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, features the same skill. When used to guard with, you may discard 1 card from your hand. If the cost has been paid, the attack is then blocked. The grade 3, heal trigger, heal guardian, Ultimate Salvation Combination, Atom Bullion. Its skill is, when used to guard with, If you have not yet ridden to grade 3, you may activate one of two effects. The first effect, your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn. So for this first effect, it's a good way to stop your opponent from rushing you too early with too much damage by stopping his consecutive attacks by giving your Vanguard more power, making it harder for any additional attacks after the guard to make it through. And the second effect, the attacking unit's critical is minus by 2. So just like the first effect, this is a defensive skill, mainly to stop your opponent from rushing you too early and pushing you to having too much damage early in the game by making the attacking unit's critical less by 2 points. And the second skill of Aid and Bullion, when called under the rearguard circle, if you have 0 cards in your damage zone, you may place the top card of your deck to the damage zone face up. So for this second skill, it's more or less a way to give you damage to use for counterblast and also help you defend against the damage denial strategy. The damage denial strategy is when your opponent prevents you from having any counterblast to use your skills with by avoiding giving you damage before they decide to do anything. So basically, they prevent you from being able to use any counterblast by not giving you any damage early on and only try to finish you off by giving you damage when you have no longer any more opportunities to use your skills. So with this second skill, as long as you manage to call the rear guard, you'll be able to guarantee yourself at least one counterblast to use, thus stopping any opponents from trying to play the damage denial strategy on you. And with that just about covers the deck's trigger lineup. And now, after having just explained the deck's build and card effects, next let's go on to the deck's main playstyle. So for the main playstyle of this deck, you just mainly ride to your usual ride line, and when it's time to ride to grade 3, try to make sure the first grade 3 you ride to is Black-clad top tier Deity, Bradblack, and fill out your rear guards with anything to support. So for your front row, try to have at least Active Mask, Platinum Ace, and or possibly even Daizaurus in your front row. And then when it's time to go to the battle phase, when you attack with Bradblack and use his second skill to superior ride in grade 3, you have the options of riding either Daizaurus or Roaring Beast Audion. Either one is fine. Superior ride them as stands. And then when it's time to attack, you can use either of these two powerful skills that aid your Vanguard further, either Daizaurus' power up skill or Audion's guard restriction skill. Either way, these two make great second grade 3 Vanguards. And also, like I mentioned, try to secure your front row either Platinum Ace, who gets more critical and power of its skill as long as your Vanguard secure huge amounts of power, which works great since including the imaginary gift force you get from riding Bradblack and superior riding the 2 new grade 3s. And then either of these two units skill will also add extra power, making it easier to get the necessary power levels to activate the requirements of the skills of either Platinum Ace, Daizaurus, or even Quick Hero Active Mask, making them a great way to fill your front row of higher levels of power. So when it's time to attack, before you attack with your second grade 3 Vanguard, you can use Platinum Ace to attack with a rear guard that has huge amounts of power and critical, or use Active Mask, his skill to combo to let him restand after attacking. If you manage to empower him with Bradblack's first skill to give him extra 10,000 power and then have him attack first, then by the time it's time to attack with your second grade 3 Vanguard, using his skill to restand, giving you a chain of high power attacks from your front row with Active Mask. Also, if you have the option of calling a Daizaurus to your rear guard, after having managed to secure the necessary power to activate his skill, before you attack with your second grade 3 Vanguard, either Daizaurus or Audion, after using Bradblack's skill to ride them, try to attack with your Daizaurus first, and then activate its skill. When your Vanguard's power exceeds 35,000, move into the soul, then your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power in one drive. So, like I mentioned, the grade 3 card effects, Bradblack's superior ride skills cost is also one that you have to reduce your newly ridden Vanguard's drive check by 1. So with Daizaurus' skill, you more or less refund that cost paid for the skill, at least, and as long as you use Daizaurus' rear guard skill to empower your Vanguard, you'll be able to guarantee yourself 2 twin drive attacks from your Vanguard. So yeah, that's pretty much more or less the main playstyle of this deck. First, you ride up to grade 3. First grade 3 is Bradblack. Use his first skill to counterblast. Empower your front row. Then in your front row, try to have Platinum Ace, Active Hero Quick, or a Daizaurus. And then when it's time to Superior Ride to your next grade 3, you can use either Audion or Daizaurus. Then you have the option of either using Platinum Ace or Quick Hero Active Mass to have a powerful front row, or use Daizaurus to more or less recover the lost -1 drive from the Superior Ride skill of Bradblack. And with that, I've just about covered the deck's main playstyle. And now, after having just explained the deck's build, card effects, and playstyle, that's about the end of the video. So first off, I want to say thank you to the viewers for watching today's video, and to please stay tuned for more videos I plan to upload again in the near future. I also hope you all show your support by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing to my videos and channel. And with that, I say goodbye and see you all soon.